Chapter 1, Elias exploits the glitch. The termination, notice hit the glass table with the sharp crack of a pistol shot. It slid across the polished surface, coming to rest inches from Elias' fingertips. The Apex Vanguard logo stared up at him in stark, judgmental black. Obsolete, Coach Vance said. His voice was flat, stripped of any human warmth. He stood at the head of the strategy room, arms crossed over a chest that looked like it had been carved from granite. Behind him, the massive holographic display flickered with red downward trends, bathing the room in the color of failure. Your meta-analysis for the last 3 seasons has been wrong more often than right. You don't contribute mechanically. You don't draft. You sit on the bench and calculate probabilities that never happen. Elias didn't flinch. He kept his eyes on the paper, reading clauses he already knew by heart. In a league where actions per minute APM was the primary metric of worth, Elias' average of 140 was a death sentence. Starters hovered near 300, elites pushed past 400. To the world, he was a calculator with legs, a glorified data entry clerk who had tricked the scouting department into giving him a roster slot. "He's a liability," Jax sneered. The team captain leaned back in his ergonomic chair, radiating practiced arrogance. His fingers tapped a rhythmic, high-speed beat on the armrest, a subconscious flex of the dexterity that made him a star. "Look at him, coach. He's not even angry. That's the problem. No fire, just cold, dead numbers. We need players who can react, not ones who need a spreadsheet to tell them when to blink." Jax swiveled toward Elias, a cruel smirk twisting his lips. "Do us all a favor. Sign the voluntary release. Save face. Tell the press you're retiring to pursue academic interests. Don't make us blacklist you. You know how fast the league moves. 1 mark on your record and no semi-pro team will touch you. You'll be streaming mobile games in a basement within a month." The air in the glass-walled room felt thin, pressurized by the weight of the ultimatum. Outside, the rest of the team practiced in the main hall, their movements blurred and frantic, a stark contrast to the stillness inside. Vance leaned forward, planting both hands on the table. "I'm not offering a voluntary release yet. There is 1 clause in your contract regarding exceptional circumstances. A last-chance scrimmage." Jax laughed, a sharp barking sound. "A scrimmage, against who? The trainees? They'd crush him." "Against you," Vance said, his gaze locking onto Elias. 1 round, mirror match. We're using the new hero, Vanguard Prime, straight from the unpatched build. The one the league drops next week. If you can take a single round off Jax, your contract is reinstated on probation. If you lose or if you forfeit, you're out by morning. Permanently blacklisted. Jax's grin widened, predatory and bright. "Unpatched. Coach, that's suicide for him. I've been grinding the beta builds in private servers for weeks. I know every combo, every cooldown, every frame of animation. He's going to get stomped so hard his keyboard will crack." Elias finally looked up. His expression wasn't fear or defiance, it was clinical. He had spent the last 48 hours doing exactly what Jax hadn't, reading the raw code dumps leaked from the developer server while everyone else watched highlight reels. He hadn't been sleeping, he had been mapping collision boxes. "I accept," Elias said quietly. "Good," Vance snapped. "Get to the private server, now." The virtual space of the private scrimmage server was a sterile white void. The loading screen dissolved into the arena map, a fractured cityscape of neon skyscrapers and rain-slicked rooftops. Elias adjusted his headset, the mechanical click of his keyboard echoing in the small booth. Through the observation glass, he saw Marcus, the veteran substitute, watching with pitying resignation. Marcus knew the odds. Everyone did. "Ready to cry, calculator?" Jax's voice crackled through the voice chat, dripping with mockery. "Don't worry, I'll try to make it quick. Maybe I'll let you get 1 hit in so you have something to put on your resume." "Start the match," Elias replied, his tone flat. The countdown hit 0. Jax exploded into motion. His character, a blur of blue energy, dashed forward, chaining together high-level movement tech that canceled the landing recovery of his jump. He was aggressive, overwhelming, forcing the pace. He threw out a barrage of skill shots, predictive aiming designed to trap an opponent who relied on standard reaction times. Elias moved differently. He didn't dash. He walked. He sidestepped a plasma bolt with a movement that looked almost lazy, missing the timing window for a counterattack entirely. In the observation room, Marcus sighed, rubbing his temples. He's not even trying. Look at that APM. It's barely hovering at 100. He's playing like a tutorial bot. Jax pressed the advantage, driving Elias back toward the edge of the map. Is this it? Jax taunted, his character unleashing a flashy area of effect ultimate that lit up the screen. Come on, show me those analytics. Dodge this. Elias didn't dodge the center of the blast. He walked directly into the outer rim of the explosion, taking a sliver of damage that seemed intentional. He raised his weapon, fired a single shot that missed wide, and retreated behind a piece of cover that offered no real protection against Jax's mobility. He's panicking, Jax crowed. He knows he's dead. Look at him, hiding behind a crate like a scared rat. Jax committed. Confident in his lead, convinced Elias had no mechanical answer to his speed, the captain initiated his finisher sequence. It was a move perfected over thousands of hours. A dash strike followed instantly by a gravity well, pinning the opponent in place for a guaranteed execution. It was flashy, crowd-pleasing, and mathematically perfect against any standard defense. Jax's character surged forward, the animation wind-up beginning. The gravity well-charged, visual effects swirling violently around his hands. Elias' eyes narrowed. He wasn't watching health bars or cooldown timers. He was watching the pixel shift on Jax's left boot. Frame 42, Elias thought. The transition between the dash impact and the gravity cast has a 0.2-second vulnerability window where the collision box resets to 0. The developers forgot to patch the cancel animation. It was a glitch, a microscopic error in the code that allowed a player to interrupt their own animation without suffering the usual penalty, effectively becoming invulnerable for a fraction of a second while bypassing the enemy's defensive frames. No one used it because it required input precision that bordered on impossible for human hands. No one except someone who had memorized the engine's tick rate. As Jax's gravity well began to pull, Elias moved. His fingers flew across the mechanical keyboard, a sudden, violent staccato that shattered the rhythm of the match. Click-clack, thud. Elias triggered the exploit. His character model flickered, the animation canceling so cleanly it looked like teleportation. He slipped through the gravity well as if it were smoke, appearing instantly inside Jax's personal space. What the? Jax's voice cut off in shock. Elias didn't hesitate. He executed the counter combo. It wasn't flashy. It was brutal efficiency. 3 inputs. A point-blank shotgun blast, a melee uppercut that utilized the glitched invulnerability frames, and a final execute command that chained the stun lock perfectly. Jax's health bar, sitting comfortably at 80%, evaporated. 80% to 0 in less than 3 seconds. The screen flashed gold. Victory. Silence descended on the observation room. The only sound was the hum of cooling fans and the faint, lingering echo of Elias' keyboard clicks. On the live APM monitor, the graph spiked vertically, a jagged red line shooting from the basement to the ceiling before flattening out. Marcus stared at the screen, mouth slightly open. How did he do that? That wasn't in the patch notes. That wasn't in any guide. Inside the booth, Elias removed his headset. His hands were steady. He hadn't won because he was faster than Jax. He had won because he understood the game better than anyone else in the building. He had turned the code itself into a weapon. The door to the booth slammed open. Jax stormed out of his station, face flushed with rage, tearing his headset off and throwing it onto the desk. "Lag!" he shouted, pointing an accusing finger at Elias. "The server ticked wrong. My input didn't register. That was hardware failure, not skill. You got lucky, you glitch-abusing freak." Elias stood up, ignoring the tirade. He walked past Jax, who was sputtering excuses to Coach Vance, and headed for the exit. The humiliation of the last hour had vanished, replaced by a cold, hard validation. He had kept his slot. For now. Elias, wait. The voice was smooth, authoritative, and unfamiliar. Elias stopped in the hallway outside the strategy room. A woman stood there, leaning against the wall with a tablet in hand. She wore a tailored suit that screamed money, her posture relaxed but her eyes sharp. It was Claire, the owner's daughter and the team's primary sponsor liaison. She rarely visited the training facility, preferring to handle business from the corporate tower. I saw the replay data, Claire said, tapping her tablet. A holographic projection sprang up, showing the moment of the cancel animation glitch in slow motion. That wasn't luck, and it wasn't lag. Jax seems to think otherwise, Elias noted dryly. Jax thinks the sun revolves around his ego, Claire dismissed. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. That move you used, the animation cancel, the league knows about it. They've been trying to patch it for 2 weeks, but the fix keeps breaking other mechanics. They're planning a hotfix next Tuesday. She studied Elias, her gaze assessing. You found a hole in the matrix that the pros missed. That makes you dangerous and useful. She pulled a sleek silver pen from her pocket and held it out. I'm overriding Vance's termination order. You're not reinstated as a starter. You're not even a sub anymore. Your new title is Strategic Consultant. Probationary contract, effective immediately. Mandatory participation in all scrims. Your salary is halved, but you keep your roster slot. Elias looked at the pen. It was a lifeline, but it came with strings. And the condition. The condition, Claire said, her expression darkening slightly, is that you survive. Jax isn't going to let this go. You embarrassed him in front of the coach and the vet. In this league, pride is currency, and you just bankrupted him. He's going to target you in every draft, every pick, every ban. He will make your life hell until you quit or he breaks you. She pressed the pen into Elias' hand. But if you can do what you did today consistently, if you can find these edges before the patches drop, then we might just have a chance at the championship. Don't make me regret this, Elias. I won't, Elias said, gripping the pen. Claire nodded once and turned to walk away, her heels clicking sharply on the floor. Welcome to the big leagues, consultant. Elias stood alone in the hallway for a moment, the silence stretching around him. He had survived the call. He had proven his worth, but as he looked down at the silver pen, his pocket buzzed. He pulled out his phone. A private message had arrived. The sender ID was masked, but the content was unmistakable. You got lucky once. Tomorrow's public ranked ladder stream is going to break you. I'll make sure the whole world sees you for the fraud you are. J. Elias stared at the screen, the blue light reflecting in his eyes. The scrimmage was over, but the war had just begun. He pocketed the phone and started walking toward the exit. He needed sleep. Tomorrow, he would have to do it all again, but this time under the glare of 1 million viewers. In the next chapter, as Elias celebrates his public victory, he fails to notice that Coach Vance has already locked him into a draft pick designed to ensure his immediate downfall.